Hello and welcome to Travel Market Live. This is Hospitality Discussions with Ryan Haynes, here live at the Independent Hotel Show London. Are we live?
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
On this episode, we're going to be looking at evolution of marketing and revenue, how to align marketing and revenue teams, building direct bookings and increased guest spend, and the future of tech AI for commercial growth. Joining me, Teresa Kingston, Group Revenue and Marketing Manager of Luxury Family Hotels, Prem Jethwa Odedra, the CEO of ByteLux, and Inna Nakrasifova, the Director of Revenue at Hotel Café Royal. So starting off, we've got Teresa joining us here. Thank you ever so much for coming along and being our guest. Firstly, you're part of the Luxury Family Hotels. Tell us a bit more about this group.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for having me on the panel. The Luxury Family Hotels is a collection of 5 hotels, and we are family focused. We have properties in the New Forest and Wiltshire, which is actually just reopening today after being closed for refurbishment. Now, people always ask me, what is the difference between family-friendly and family-focused, like luxury family hotels? You know, for us, it's where we don't just allow children, we actually celebrate children. You know, we are very much focused around families, such as offering 2 hours worth of complimentary childcare. Any parents out here? 2 hours, worth of break. You want to send the children to childcare. And with that, incorporating adult swim times in line with the children's childcare. So it means that you can actually have the time to yourself. But we're very much about creating the right environment where parents can relax and children can actually just be children.
So, we look at the luxury market. There's been so many changes, and we've seen the growth, particularly in on consumers really spending on experiences. So where does luxury and family growth happen there within your market?
So within the luxury market, we very much see, a lot of multi-generational group travel. That is really coming up a lot. And a lot of the time, it's actually the grandparents who are paying for these trips. They want to get their family together. And, we're all time poor. So this time that they spend together is really important. And it's about having the right space, the flexibility of interconnecting rooms to allow these groups to come together and just actually experience that. And alongside this, wellness is really, really important too. The parents need time to relax too. And it's about authentic experiences. As a hotelier, we're no longer selling a bedroom. We're actually selling the experience of that area, that location. And we just so happen to have a bedroom and a beautiful hotel that you can stay in.
So when you're devising your revenue strategy, I guess you've also got to plug into the marketing strategy there, as you say, to really deliver that value and that proposition. So what are you doing to try to better target to your audiences and drive direct bookings?
So for us at Luxury Family, it's about the emotional connection that they have with the brand. We very much see a lot of loyalty because we bring the families in at a younger age and then they actually want to return back with their children. So it's, an example of this is one of our properties in Wiltshire. We had a lady contact us when we were closed and she sent us some images of when she was there as a 9-year-old. So she's actually she comes back with her child. So it's about her growing up there. She's got that emotional connection. So she comes back with her family, her dog, and the grandparents. So that's really important about driving the direct bookings as well. Alongside this, we also do invest in meta search because as much as we'd like to say everything comes in direct, it doesn't. We have to also work really, really hard in that too.
It's really interesting how, though you've got a lot of returning customers, those who've already experienced it, but how do you build a loyalty program that your customers and your guests really tap into and return again? Where do you add the value there?
The value for us is about these enhanced little things that we offer. If you come to a luxury family hotel, it's not just about the 2 hours worth of childcare. It's about, as a parent, you don't need to pack the kitchen sink. The provision of equipment such as high chairs, push chairs, potties, sterilising services, that's where we enhance that value. And above and beyond, we have these cinemas, the games rooms. So we would like to think that it's not just about the provisions of the equipment, it's also about the experience that we offer, which give us a high return guest.
I mean, I guess you're right up against it to holiday homes and Airbnbs who nowadays have clocked onto the fact that people aren't going to fill their cars with all these things, that they're going to cater for that as well. So you really have to think about what do families need and make sure that they're available for them as and when they arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, a parent, you don't want to have to pack everything in your car. So it's those little things that are really making a difference.
So we talked about this revenue and marketing. Those teams have typically been really quite separate to one another.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've identified, it is essential that they work together. Tell us about how you work with your teams to make sure that they're fully aligned and drive that bottom line.
So, at Luxury Family, our marketing team and commercial revenue team actually sit together. And that's very, very intentional because we believe that commercial performance and brand storytelling, goes hand in hand. Revenue can tell marketing when to send the email campaigns, and marketing can tell revenue what story and what experience sells. So, without the two, you're just sending an email to a database who are actually not ready to book.
Now, GAMs, I mean, they have a pivotal role, particularly within the operations of the hotel. But what about the revenue and marketing side? How do you plug into them to make sure that, you're offering the right value when your guests have arrived at the property?
So our GMs are the brand custodians, or the brand police, as we would call them in marketing. And they really help bring our values, our little things to life for the guest and the guest experience. Each GM has an autonomy to ensure that their personality, their locality is actually brought to life. And they're not a robot. It's very much about them and the experience that they offer.
Talking about robots, how are you looking at AI?
Interesting. So for me, AI is very much not ever going to be taken over completely. It still needs the human touch within there. We use it a lot to analyze guest data because sometimes you can miss something. And, from a revenue perspective, it's really good to digest the data yourself, but then also, throw it into your AI. And, if your AI does not have a name, ours is called Penny, by the way, you're doing something wrong, ask them to call themselves a name. But from a marketing's perspective, everybody gets some kind of writer's block, and it can really help in just the starting sentence to bring something to life.
So from robots to man's best friends, where do dogs come into the equation? How can you make money from them?
Well, I'm speaking as a dog owner here. My dog is my new baby because my children are a lot older, but dogs are actually part of the family now. And, people want to be able to go away, spend a couple of days on holiday and bring their best friend. And it's not, again, just about being dog friendly. It's actually about having the right facilities there for your best friend and making them feel welcome as well.
Thank you very much indeed, Teresa. Now, we're going to move on to our next guest. But before I do, this is just to give you some ideas of things to be asking one another. We want to invite you guys into the fold. So don't be afraid of being on the outside. Come on in, because you're going to be part of this conversation in just a moment. So get your questions, have your thoughts. What do you want to ask other people in the room and steal some of their experience and knowledge? But the great exciting thing is that Teresa and the team at Luxury Family Hotels are going to be offering us our first platform as part of my Hospitality Discussions Roundtable Roadshow. Start kicking off in the UK from the 18th of November. So we're going to be down at the New Forest for that. So I'll be telling you more about that in a moment. But up next, to focus really on how you can engage with guests on a much deeper level, we've got Prem Jethwa Odedra, the CEO of ByteLux. Now, you've been working with the Queen of Chester. Tell us about the work you've been doing with them.
Yeah, sure. So they really wanted to increase the quality of relationships that they were having with their guests. And they don't really have time for the pre-arrival call. They don't really see great results from their email upsells. So they were getting about a 25% open rate. So 3/4 of the people receiving that email weren't even seeing it. And added to that, Queen of Chester smack bang right in the middle of town centre. There's dozens of amazing restaurants in their doorstep. So cognitively speaking, it was easier for a guest to just turn up at the hotel, walk out the front door and find somewhere to eat. And the hotel had heard that WhatsApp may be a viable option for them to build deeper relationships with guests. So they spoke to us. We built them a high-end WhatsApp AI agent called Amanda, who's connected to their PMS. And her first task was literally to just engage with guests before they arrived, find out where they're staying, offer them a table in the restaurant. And since Amanda's been working at the hotel, they've literally doubled their sleeper diner ratio.
Now, let's put this in context a second. So my understanding is the hotel invested 5 million, was it in a hotel renovation?
5 million, yeah.
1 million of that was in F&B in their restaurants. So kind of need to make the money back, right? And they did, and their original strategy wasn't working, and they realized there's a better way to be able to connect more deeply with the guests. But what are perhaps some of the biggest challenges for both guests and staff in adopting WhatsApp when you go through that process? Because it's a bit of a shift, isn't it?
The whole reason we focus on WhatsApp is for guests. WhatsApp is really easy. Like, I'm sure everyone here probably uses WhatsApp on a daily basis, speaking with friends and family. Cognitively speaking, it's just a really easy place to engage with a hotel, right? And from the guest perspective, when they're receiving a WhatsApp message from a hotel, as long as it's not a static message, the same message that you're just bulk sending via your email, the guest tends to feel more cared for, especially if you're asking a question and not just sending a static message. So from the guest perspective, actually was really easy. The main shift really is for the hotels, because they don't want to manage another tech platform. And how we manage that is we build the AI agent for them, and we manage it much in the same way their marketing agency would manage their paid ads. So they don't actually have to spend any time on the tech stuff, updating menus, pricing, and so on. And the only involvement that the hotel really has in terms of having to intervene is when, I don't know, a guest happens to say, oh, I'm coming along and I'm bringing my 10 Dalmatians. Is that okay? And in that instance, Amanda may not be trained how to answer that question. So she'd literally send an email notification to staff saying, by the way, Ryan's asking about his 10 dogs. What do I say? And they just jump into a web messenger, answer the query. And that web messenger takes them literally 1 minute to learn. We've got a how-to video. Once they've watched that how-to video, that's it. They know how to use it. And it's just easy for them to then access the WhatsApp channel.
I mean, it's interesting, there is that need to be able to make sure there's plenty of documentation and support for your staff, obviously, but also look at the managed service side of some of the tech that you're implementing. I mean, beyond the sleeper diner ratio, what are the other revenue streams or upsell opportunities that you've identified already within WhatsApp?
So you mentioned already, they spent about £1 million on their F&B, and their incremental revenue target year on year was $1 million. So first and foremost, it was about sleeper diner ratio, right? But after Amanda had thousands of conversations with the guests, they started to realize that there were gaps in their product service offering. So for instance, loads of guests were talking about early check-in, and so many guests were asking about it, they decided monetize it, make it a product. And that's been so successful, they've literally had to manage demand by adjusting pricing, which is obviously a great problem to have, right? And then aside to the upsell revenue, another big challenge they had was their front of house staff get literally the same questions day in, day out. Where do I park? How do I get there? What is there to do in the area? Since they've implemented Amanda, their calls have literally just fallen off a cliff. And the amount of time that they've saved now just goes back into spending time with guests that are actually on property. And then subsequently, guest satisfaction goes up again. And actually, for the hotel staff, it just makes it a more pleasant job. They're not having to answer the same questions day in, day out. And they're getting to have that human touch element.
And who's responsible for this internally at a hotel? I mean, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about revenue, we're talking about operations, housekeeping. Whoa, who do you work with? Who's best placed to sort of bring that all together and make sure that Amanda is able to do the job that she's been hired for?
Actually, it's the front of house manager. And the reason why is because the general manager at the start will say to us, hey, look, we've got these targets. We need more table bookings. We want to reduce staff time. But on a day-to-day basis, it's the front of house manager who then has, as you pointed out, has interaction with the guests on an ongoing basis. And if there's any questions that Amanda can't answer, it's that front of house manager who comes to us, picks up the phone, sends us a WhatsApp, or sends us an email and says, by the way, do you mind training Amanda on how to answer a guest that's talking about bringing 10 dogs?
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So that was Prem, and we're going to be able to speak and ask him more questions in just a moment as we soon open up into a open discussion here. Now over to Inna Nakrasifova from Hotel Café Royal. You have recently, not so recently maybe, but become the Director of Revenue. Tell us firstly about Hotel Café Royal.
So, first of all, Hotel Café Royal is a luxury property, 159 bedrooms, including 5 signature suites and a penthouse, with probably one of the best London addresses, Regent Street. And we kind of combine the glamour of Mayfair, the exclusivity of St. James, and the edginess of Soho. Within the hotel, we also have a 2 Michelin star restaurant by Alex Dilling. We've got Cakes and Bubbles, which probably the clues in the title, that serves cakes and champagne, by Albert Adria. Albert Adria is probably regarded as one of the best pastry chefs in the world. Together with that, we've got Café Royal Grill, recently relaunched, the original Café Royal restaurant that was opened in 1865 and hosted some of the icons of the time like Oscar Wilde and David Bowie, Muhammad Ali, and the list is quite long, but most recently Matthew McConaughey, Rihanna, and so on. So we really are seen as a place, as a trendsetter, no matter if it's 1865 or 2025.
Sounds very trendy and a lot to offer there, market and revenue. How's this year evolving for you? What does the revenue market look like?
So this year I found quite interesting. It was funny because back in 2024 was saying, gosh, what a challenging year. Then we got into 2025 and I was like, oh, that was nothing. I think within luxury, the kind of the trends that we're seeing, first of all, of course, all the new openings have an impact of what's going on, even though it seems like luxury is quite resilient, particularly hotels, 5-star hotels in London are quite resilient and there's enough demand to go around. But what I have noticed is hotels having to become a lot more creative with ways to make money, with ways to attract clientele, including in interesting partnerships and collaborations. And in general, it's been quite exciting to see everyone kind of taking on the challenge of, getting their fair share, continue to get their fair share when we have such beautiful hotels, new hotels that are opening.
Now, having joined a new hotel, going through that process of, having to pick up the mantle and sort of move with it, what have been your key learnings this year for really trying to steer the hotel in a direction to drive that profitability?
I think the key learning has been that you come in, you start a new property, you have to really, I always say, don't change anything in the first 90 days. Just watch and learn, because sometimes there are reasons why property operates a certain way. Sometimes there's no reason, but kind of be like a 5-year-old in the first 90 days. Ask why all the time. Why is it like this? Why are we doing that way? But I've also seen managers come in and under pressure to deliver quick change within the first 90 days or within the first, few weeks. And usually it doesn't really resonate well with the staff. So I think that, really, really get to know the DNA of the property that you work in. And even if I've been in luxury now for quite a long time, luxury hospitality, all the properties are very, very different. They all have their own challenges and their own unique, propositions and unique, difficulties. So that's kind of been my learning curve of, just kind of pace yourself before you start making changes. But then once the 90 days are over, then you better know it. I'm coming for the status quo.
Lovely. And how do you work with marketing? What's your relationship like?
So actually, it's similar to what Teresa mentioned. For the first time in the property's history, we've actually positioned marketing and revenue to sit in the same office, which has been working really well. As I've been exposed to more marketing, day-to-day challenges, responsibilities, but also they see my side of the work, my side of the business. Of course, marketing has to be involved in all the commercial discussions that there are. I mean, it's kind of goes without saying. But also another thing that really helps is aligning KPIs for both departments. Because, as Teresa mentioned, sometimes, you put marketing spend behind initiatives and revenue manager goes ahead and closes, availability for a particular promotion because we don't need that help. So making sure marketing really is clear on the days that we need that help with demand and days that we really don't need it and don't waste the money, putting your spend behind it. But overall, marketing collaboration's been really at the forefront of driving performance and profitability really at Café Royal.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Now, it's time to really have a bit of a closer conversation here about what's going on. And am I very, very, very pleased to introduce three people who are already sat amongst you in the audience. We've got David Ohanianian here from Up Hotel Agency. He's a marketing specialist. We have Adam Hamadash here just in the middle from Formula, who's also a marketing specialist. And we have our revenue specialist over here, Jutta Moore, who's going to be joined by these three guests, talking you through any of the questions that you have, because this is the social business space. And that is the brief that I've been given. And we're going to hear what has been on your minds, what are the concerns you have, or what resonates with what Teresa, Inna, and Prem have said today. So going back, let's find out what the conversation was. Over to David Ohanianian, the owner of Up Hotel Agency. You and Teresa, what were you talking about with your group?
Well, we had an awesome discussion, but I guess the topic of the moment is AI, isn't it? And that was centrally what we were talking about. What does the future of AI look like for tech and hospitality, marketing and revenue? Is it taking over? Are we all going to be out of jobs? Are we going to be replaced? Is there going to just be one person welcoming people into the hotel? And generally, we feel like we're at a cliff at the moment, just like when the web came around. Did that take over everything? Did that take over all bookings? No, we feel that there will be tools. There is tools already, but there's still not 100% accuracy in that. And it still needs a human touch. And actually, the phrase was brought out that there's still a need for human brilliance. And I thought that was a really nice phrase that was shared amongst the group. But we felt that like tools, like we have a screwdriver, an electric screwdriver which automates is a lot quicker, it still needs a skilled person to operate it. And we feel that maybe there will be certain functions and the ability to go through hundreds of documents and lines and data and condense those, but you'll still need an individuality to the functions in hotels. So it was really a solid argument for that skill set and still the need for people like us in there. But we can't be slow. We can't be lazy to it. We can't just push it to the back. We have to learn it, utilize it, and it will help us with our roles. And then just at the end, we had a discussion about, with revenue and marketing coming together again, the need for looking at the profitability and CPA by channel, because a lot of hotel and marketing functions and revenue functions just look at occupancy, ADR, revenue that's coming in. But actually, there's a massive profitability area that is ignored. And if you are able to look at it with that in mind and having revenue teams and marketing teams working together in unison, then it can help out with the hotel and profitability and shift the needle in that way too. So we had a really good discussion, and thank you to everyone who joined in too.
Indeed, David and Teresa, thank you ever so much indeed. Such fascinating things you end up walking away in these discussions with your peers, and that's why I'm going on the road. Over to David Hamadash of Formula. What was a summary of some of the key points you were talking about?
Okay, so we actually, we didn't talk about AI a great deal. We talked about revenue management and how revenue and marketing are now more increasingly starting to work together, which I think is certainly a trend that we're seeing across our contacts within the industry. We talked a little bit about parity and how difficult it is to still maintain that parity. Inna described it as very eloquently as a sort of the three-headed dragon. As soon as you chop one head off, all of a sudden lower rates appear somewhere else. So even with that, despite all of the great technology that exists today, parity is it's a bit more manageable than perhaps it was even a couple of years ago, but still a bit of a challenge. We also covered around subsidiary companies. So this is a particular challenge that we've seen across some of the clients that we work with. Subsidiary companies effectively undercutting, even though you're not necessarily giving your inventory to some of those OTAs. Those sort of low rates are appearing somewhere on the internet, and you're just trying to make sure that you're on top of those, which obviously is a real challenge for direct bookings. And then towards the end, we talked about AI usage, particularly around things like marketing. So Performance Max ads, those AI learning tools that can allow you to advertise much more efficiently.
Wow, so much involved in there, and great how every conversation's different, right? One from AI over to revenue. And interesting, some stats here. 75% of hotel rate searches, at least one OTA displays a lower price than the hotel's own website. And when it comes to Performance Max, utilizing AI, it cost us down 19% year on year, according to Sendine's Hotel Digital Marketing Performance Index. So AI is having a real impact on maximizing your spend. Right, over to Jutta Moore, who was in conversation here with Prem. What was some of the conversation here?
We had a very interesting one. Have you noticed how all the AI bots have got female names?
Oh, they do, yes.
And why would that be? So that was our first discussion point brought up by Emily. And very, very interestingly, you can, of course, name your bot whoever or whatever you like, but it seems that the majority of AI bots do have female names because you know you're going to get the job done. At least that's my conclusion. We then went on to how can services be integrated in an AI bot like Prem's ByteLux. That's really as long as the other provider, in this case, for example, AirHub, a taxi company, has got an AI open technology, it can be integrated. However, if you have your typical florist, your baker, your other services that may not be that tech savvy, an email from Amanda or whatever you're going to call your bot will suffice to actually inform them of the information that is required. The other question that we also discussed is, what does an AI bot or your service bot actually know? And in this case, it's really all the information that you provide to prevent it from hallucinating so that you don't get those wild and furious answers you sometimes get from ChatGPT that have no prevalence in your hotel. So it's literally based on facts that you have fed into the engine.
Okay, so another more technical conversation here regarding AI. Again, it's always fascinating, and that's why I love to host events like this and hope to see you at one of mine. In fact, I do, as I said, like to speak to hoteliers as often as possible, and I spoke to the concierge at the hotel I'm staying at, and his problem with AI is that now the restaurants he's calling are using voice bots, and he's having to provide MasterCard, credit card details for a booking that he never had to before. Now, it's guests that come to him on front desk to have that personable experience, knowing that they've got relationships with those restaurants, with those hotels. What he did is he sent a rather stubborn email to the restaurateur and told them what the problem was. Now they've given him a direct line to someone who will actually answer. But this is what we got to think about in hotels. We're all part of an ecosystem. That's why I called it Travel Market Life. We are all together working together. There's a part and a place that technology has a role to play, and others will create and cause friction. So we always have to think about, is it alleviating and reducing stress, or is it increasing and putting boundaries in our way? So that's me, Ryan Haynes, part of Travel Market Life, your podcast, where I am serving you to help you become much more aware about how other hoteliers and the travel industry is evolving and utilizing new processes, techniques, and innovation to be successful.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music Sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.